right, so we're going to do this one more time. Trade room people, you guys can hear me okay? You can see my screen? One last time. Yes, excellent. YouTube people, if you guys can hear me and see my stream, let me know. All right, so me and technology just do not get along pretty much ever, but usually I get it right. It just takes some getting used to. All right, guys, so let's take a look at the markets. As you guys can see, there was just kind of this big dark cloud cover on the daily that ended the daily chart last week. Usually when you see a dark, or actually not even a dark cloud cover, that's a bearish engulfing. Similar context of it's engulfing the candle. Usually, awesome. Thanks, YouTube peeps. Usually it means it wants to reverse and pull back down. Doesn't mean a crash, doesn't mean a recession. Just look at the support levels below. So today we're going to look at what pre-market is doing. It's kind of forming a possible right shoulder within that head and shoulders on the 5-minute. We'll have to see, we'll see if it fails and comes back down or if it's going to continue up. So we will have to watch and see. As you guys can see lately, I'm trying to kind of keep things, I try to simplify it as best as I can for you guys. There are lots of patterns to learn. There's a lot that goes into trading. Everybody's a different type of trader, so what type of trader I am might not be the type of style of trader that you are. Again, we have several diverse traders in our community. So that being said, actually, hold on, let me just do this. I want to detach a screen for you guys. Detach. Cool, here's another one. I'll show you guys this while I'm talking. I just duplicated the screen. So everybody's a different style of trader, right? But I try to give you guys the skills, make it as simplified as possible for you guys, so you guys can take the skills and use them into your own trading style. Compared to, myself, I like trading. You'll see up here, I have stocks between, $10 to $15 that are typically high float. I do about 100 million or more float. If these are too expensive stocks for you, if you don't like high float stocks, then you do low float and stocks, whatever, between $1 to $10, right? A bull flag is a bull flag. A bear flag is a bear flag. The difference being is the time frames that you look at, right? And when you take profits. I personally like 5-minute charts, higher, higher float stocks. I like to let the patterns form. I like to take my time. I don't like to rush to get in and out of trades. If my style is too slow for you, then you would take kind of what you see here on my screen and basically change it to probably a 1-minute chart, right? So I like trading 5-minute charts. If you don't like that, if that's too slow for you again, you would change it to 1-minute charts. I'm looking for, bull flags, pull back to moving average lines on a 5-minute. You would just do the same thing on a 1-minute, right? And then you look at candlesticks and resistance levels and potential reversal patterns on when you would get out of your trade on a 1-minute, right? So I like to let things play out. Also, too, I got a lot more going on in the mornings and just in general. We run a trading company. We have lots of things going on and blogging and videos and social media. So typically, I have lots of distractions going on, so I don't have the ability usually with all that's going on. Good problems to have. We have obviously a really great and growing community. The challenge is just, it's not, I don't get mornings to let me just sit here for a couple hours uninterrupted and trade. Same thing with Dan and stuff. So again, good problems to have, but this is what I typically do. I take stocks that I'm looking at. I have 5-minute charts set up and I let the patterns form, right? I'm looking for volume to come in. I'm looking for resistance levels to break and hold. And then I'm looking for, typically small candle entries. And I like small risk. I like very, very minimal risk. I'm not a very, I don't like a lot of risk. So I like to keep my my losses small, right? So as you'll see here, these are ones that I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at Bed Bath and Beyond. Looking at for it to see, you can see this kind of this 5-minute intraday channel when you like kind of zoom out. There was kind of this up channel right here. I want to see if the buyers are going to hold previous close and push price up. You'll see on this one right here, there is some resistance. You can't see it on this chart. On my other major screen, I'll show you guys. There is some resistance on the hourly around 14.80 and then up at $15. So I'm just kind of see, this was a nice one that moved up on Friday. I'm going to see if there's continuation. DDDY or DDD. Let's pull that one up here. DDD has some news. Kind of forming this kind of an ascending triangle. We'll have to see if it could break that 1070 area. You'll see price is bullish on the hourly. It needs to clear that 1070 area. And then obviously you'd want to see basically next up would be $11 whole dollar amount. But I'm looking to see this gap right here. See if this gap fills around 1050 and holds that open and then continues on the way up. So I'm keeping an eye on DDD. OI, I like to think of open interest when I think of OI. But this one right here has a kind of a bigger overall cup and handle pattern. You can see a flag. But then a lot of times you'll see flag patterns within cup and handles. Again, a little bit overextended, but if it can kind of break above that, this top of this candle here, that 1377-ish area, see if that one can continue up. And actually, I'm going to put it at, what is it, 1365? If it can get above that $14 range, this one, if it can get some volume, again, you want to keep an eye on these guys. You want to see at least several 100,000 in volume, ideally. I'd like to see it ideally get above 1 million because I like liquidity. But if this thing can break above, that 1377 area, this has some room to run, up to the base of that gap around 1473. So if this gets volume, the patterns hold. These are the stocks that, these higher float ones, you'll see these ones all have minimum of 100 million float. So the difference being, guys, it just slows things down, right? So like I was saying to you guys, I like to take my time when trading. So, by doing that, I just kind of put higher float right here. So if you guys want to do the same thing, but with small caps, so like if you don't have an account size that can afford to trade stocks between $10 to $15, then you could do the same thing. Go to a scan. Let's see which one I have here. You could do morning scan, high float. So you'll see right here, I put, let's say, $3 stocks between $3 and $9. If you want cheaper ones, you could do 30 cents to $9 or $10 or $1 to $10. I have kind of here minimum of 1 million float. You can catch it earlier if you want, put around 500,000, if you're looking for an anticipation of a breakout. And then put like minimum of 3%, up on the day. And then this is where I put float, right? So you'll see this is a medium, it's a high float, or it's a smaller cap one. Trade ideas should be fixed now, guys. I just texted Dan if just let me know if it's not working. So these are smaller cap stocks. You could do it between 1 to whatever, $10, whatever you prefer in your price sizing. And then I just put a minimum of 100 million float. So this basically is taking smaller cap stocks. So basically the stocks that I'm looking at and making it higher float. So it's just less risk, less reward. So less pumping and dumping usually compared to high float to low float stocks. But if you want low float stocks, you could put nothing there if you wanted to have low float stocks. All right. So as you can see, I'm not rushing right now. I'm letting the market play out. The market's open. I like to look and see if these will start to build volume. DDD is starting to move up a little bit. So you'll see kind of what I do here is I let these patterns play out. So I just zoom in a little bit. And as the scanners start to hit, I might look at some other ones that are hitting the scanner. So sometimes these take a while to form or they don't form at all. And then I'll go over to, my scanner and see what's hitting. I'll let these play out for a few minutes. And then typically, if something else starts to move, I may look at those as well. So again, I like to see a lot more volume than what's triggering right now. So like what I'm looking to do, guys, let these patterns form, let the volume come in. I'm looking at my other screen now, so that's where I'll let these candles again. I'll let them kind of break out or break down. So let them form the patterns. Then let's say with DDD, I'll let this thing kind of take a few minutes, see if it's going to break out, and then come back and retest. If it retests and forms a potential like 5-minute flag and it's a small candlestick, then I may look to get into a trade, right? I like to let price action play out a little bit, especially going into a Monday after the weekend. So you can see Bed Bath & Beyond currently is kind of failing that lower trend line. I'd like to see, buyers come in, potentially form a reversal candle and see if they'll come back in and push price up. But currently it's failing that lower trend line. Now, typically too, again, like I was telling you guys, I like to let the 5-minute chart set up. So you'll see, with doing that, it takes a while, right? So, sometimes I could be sitting here for 20 minutes, a half hour, or even an hour. If that's too slow for you, then you would just, again, look at a 1-minute chart, right? On smaller cap stocks, like stocks between, $1 to $10, you don't get as great. That's why I like these bigger ones. You don't get as great of 5-minute setups many times. Sometimes they take a while. But typically with the higher float stocks, though, when you have like at least 100 million, you tend to get a little bit better of a chance of a setup on a 5-minute with those stocks rather than low floaters. So low floaters, it's very difficult to get a good 5-minute setup, or you'll get like lots of like high wave candles and wicks and things are all over the place. I'm still watching Bed Bath & Beyond and DDD. So DDD, you can see it's going up to resistance right at that $11. So now I'd like to see if there's a pullback. Bed Bath & Beyond, keeping an eye on this, see if it holds that lower trend line. Volume is coming in, but I let the candles play out. So with, again, lower float stocks, it's typically a lot harder to get 5-minute setups. That's where, again, you would just trade 1-minute candles. Now, at this point, DDD, this one's flying. I'd like to see it hold $11. $11 is very important support level now. So I like, bull flags, bear flags, pulling back to the moving average lines. I'm actually switching over this week to interactive brokers because I want the ability to be able to short. So on days that the market is bearish, I'd like to be able to take short positions. Interactive brokers is actually a pretty decent broker for shorting. You'll hear some things or you'll see some videos of some people and some gurus might not like interactive brokers. Again, I'm not a low floater kind of guy. I'm more of a higher float or medium float. So interactive brokers is good for that style. Actually watching DDD now right here to see if it holds that $11 level. Again, a little bit overextended at the moment. So they're pretty good for, higher float or medium float stocks. If you're looking to buy, 10,000 plus shares of low float stocks, they might not be the best. But if you're looking for good short locates and you're looking to buy 1,000 to 5,000 shares on a decent stock, they're a good company. So I've used Interactive Brokers before. I just had to reopen my account. It's taken a few days, and like with any broker, sometimes they take a little bit longer, it seems, to get started. So you'll see me start to show you guys probably some more videos coming soon with Interactive Brokers. Yep, Creed saying keep an eye on the 5-minute trend. When day trading, it'll tell you a lot. Yep. So that's what I do, guys. I like, you'll see it's kind of boring. You'll just let this play out up or down. But, it takes more time, but I also am able to manage my risk a lot better, right? So I'm not having to rush to get in, to get out. And that's the thing with day trading, that's where you'll see, if you're a new day trader, you've come into our community, there's a lot of kind of misconceptions out there. Hold on, guys. I'm just looking at. So you can see right here. See what I'm saying, guys? You'll see these kind of big candles come up, and then they get kind of bigger candles. I want to see some smaller candles confirming. I'd like to see the moving average lines up over each other. So I like to see this up here, but I ideally like to see that 9 EMA catch up. So I'd like to see if there's like a potential bull flag that'll form, but you can see right now forming on DDD is potential tweezer tops. But so going back to what I was saying about day trading or trading small cap stocks, if you're new, thinking that you're just going to take a $500 or $1,000 account and turn it into a couple $100,000. I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but that's very unrealistic. After you've, practiced trading for several years or a couple of years, that's possible. But don't get fooled out there by people showing you these small account challenges that take these small dollar amounts and turn them into lots of money. Again, with just even our size community, see this nasty bearish candle at the moment right here. So this is what I start to look at with INFY. This is the stuff I like to start to look at. You see I'd like to see a smaller candle bounce off that 9 EMA. If so, that might be forming a possible cup and handle pattern. So this is where I start to take a look a little bit closer at INFY. I'm still looking at DDD, Bed Bath & Beyond, not so hot at the moment. Let's look at the volume on INFY. All right, so there's definitely some volume. It's bearish at the moment, but let's see here. Look at some resistance right around that $11 marker. Right up in here. So we'll see if this one does a possible reversal. You guys see this kind of potentially holding that 9 EMA, that blue line. I want to see if we get a nice little hammer bounce off of that. I like small candle risk, so I like to have the 5-minute formation hold. I like to see volume, so there is definitely volume. I don't like that red bearish candle, but I'd like to see ideally more of a bullish one. But but just to show you guys on this, if you see, why is my, there we go. You know, so you can see right here, I like to keep my wrist small, you know, so that's a 5-cent candle. I don't like it because it's a red candle right now, but if you get a smaller kind of candle off this and you wrist off of it, you can wrist smaller candles on a 5-minute setup on a higher float stock in anticipation of a break of, let's say, $11. So if you get a decent hold here, you know, this is something I might risk if I get a good bullish candle or kind of a small doji or a smaller hammer. I would potentially look at something like this that I might risk if the candle's decent for an anticipation of a break of $11. You want to ideally have at least a 2-to-1 profit, you know, loss ratio. So would I be willing to risk, you know, let's say if it's 5 cents, do I have the ability at least to make 10 cents? DDD might be holding $11. You can see, let's take a look at the SPY right now as well. So SPY is a little bit bearish at the moment right now, kind of double topping down. So again, remember guys, you know, most of these stocks run with the market. So that's where, you know, if the market is starting off bearish, a lot of these stocks will fall with it. I don't know what's going on with my mouse lately. So, you know, if you're trying to go bullish when the market is bearish, that's where you got to let the, you know, market play out a little bit. And that's where I'm kind of going to switch over to interactive brokers so I can have the ability to short. So going back to what I was saying about, so at this point with, DDD, let me take a look at volume real quick. Volume is slowly building on DDD. I want to see, right? I'm going to remove these down here. So you want to see $11 hold. Let's look at the daily chart. After that, you can see some resistance right around that 11.24 is right in here. And on the way up a little bit. Kind of right in these areas here. So at this point, I'd wait for a confirmation hold on $11 on DDD. Bed Bath & Beyond is just tanking. CVIT is dumping. And as you guys can see, INFY is dropping at the moment too. Let me look at OI real quick. OI. That was when I was looking for a possible breakout, but no volume coming in yet. So let's look at some of these other ones. Right over here, TME. So this one's potentially interesting right here. You got to be aware of those tweezer tops, but keep an eye. I actually might put this one off to the side. If we can clear that 1421 area, let's look at the daily chart. So right up over in here, you can see that 200 SMA. If you can clear that 200 SMA, it has some room to move up. I'm looking for possible reversals at the moment too on some of these. So right here with TME, if it can clear that 200 SMA, I would look up probably about that 1450 level for resistance at, you know, that $half amount, and then see from there if it can clear that like 1470s. So I'm going to keep an eye on that one as well. I normally have a second screen up, but now I have YouTube up right now, so that's kind of blocking my screen. Now looking at reverse, just to show you guys reversals. You can start to see a possible reversal here on Bed Bath & Beyond. So you can see if you look at reversal candles, if you look at a reversal, you can see when price starts to fall away from those moving average lines, many a times it wants to gravitate back up. That's why I like this 5-minute chart. So if you looked at something like this, you know, here's a 10-cent candle. You'd ideally like the ability to make, you know, 20 cents at least. But, you know, if you're a scalper, if price got up here, maybe you would say, okay, if price breaks above this, I'll just take this thing up to that, you know, 9 or that 13 EMA, and I won't use a candle close below here as my stop. Maybe you wouldn't use your stop down here. You'd keep your stop like right above this level on a 1 minute. You know, keep your risk tight. I like really tight risk management. I like ideally smaller reversal candles, but this is something to keep an eye on. If it can break 1441 and hold, then you can use moving average line resistance above. Ideally, you can see these moving average lines starting to press down on here. Actually, SSW might be going green as well. Let's take a look at Bed Bath & Beyond on a 1 minute just to show you guys this. So you can see it's poking up right there at that 1441. And let's look at a 1 minute. So you can see kind of a bear flag. And this is where, you know, sometimes it might look good on a reversal, and then you can see it's got the moving average lines on a 1 minute. Right? So a lot of people will come down on this tweezered bottom, you know, down in this area, buy it back up. So they're buying at support. And then they'll watch reversal candles if they start to fail these moving average lines. And you can see on the 1 minute, it's caught right there, right between that 9 and the 13. So keep an eye, guys, on watch list too when we do our watch list. When many of them fire off, you want to see volume, right? So some of these, like SSW, is taking off right now. If you look at the 5 minute on SSW, it's breaking out. Problem is no volume. So you'd ideally like to see volume. So me personally, I don't really like any of these patterns so far. I'm looking right also at INFY. It may be bouncing off of. Now you can see here on Bed Bath & Beyond. So you can kind of, as it's going up, you could draw kind of like a channel like this. So it kind of got like a megaphone on a 1 minute. And you can see how I drew that resistance level, and it's smacking right off resistance up here. You ideally want to see it get above that 20 EMA. It's got a lot of overhead resistance, but when you go back to the 5 minute chart, this is where I was saying many times it might creep up right here. So some people may have risked off of this star pattern. They might risk a candle close off this. This one's still going, but you can see it's kind of caught in between this doji candle down right here on a 5 minute. Hidden resistance, again, lots of resistance above. I'm just looking at some of these other ones that might be running, guys. AEO. This one's breaking out too. Let's look at daily. All right, so AEO might be interesting. If I can clear that 1475, I'd look up at about that $15 resistance. So when price breaks out like this, I'd like to see it pull back, form a possible bull flag. Again, a bit overextended past the moving average lines. INFY maybe doing a reversal. DDD. So this is where you got to be patient, guys, right? As you can see, we're about 20 minutes in. I start looking at these, but you can see, you know, price breaks out on DDD. So it breaks out, comes back down. This is where I start to look at it a little bit further. I got to see, okay, is this going to give me a little hammer bounce above $11? Get this 9 EMA to catch up, give a small little possible formation. But, you know, this could also be, if it doesn't break that 1107, that could turn into a head and shoulders. But this is where I start to look at it further right here. To see, is this going to form? You can see this has news, possible 5-minute candle setup, bouncing off of VWAP. This is what I start to look at a little bit more closely. But this is why I like to let the 5-minute candle form, because sometimes it looks good and then it might form, you know, a red candle and turn into a head and shoulders and dump, right? So I ideally like to see that 5-minute candle formation hold, small little candle, get above $11, and then kind of go back to what Creed was saying. Look at the trend. It's kind of got, it broke out of kind of a, what are you going to call this here? So it kind of broke out of that channel there, and now it's retesting and failing it. So this is where I'd be a little bit concerned about being a head and shoulders. And we have to take a look also at as well as what the SPY is doing. And SPY got a bounce. It's caught between the moving average lines right now. It's got that nasty looking wick down here to previous close. So again, stocks run with the market. So days like today, especially if you can only, so this is my IRA that I trade in, so I can't short in that. So I have to be long bias. So this is where I get kind of trapped. So if I'm looking to like do a short or find bear flags or, you know, kind of short, I'm kind of stuck, right? So I have to either go long on, you know, bull flag or an ascending triangle, or I got to look for a possible dip by reversal. And Bed Bath & Beyond was... You can see this one on a 5-minute. It's right up. That green line is that 13. So you guys can see, remember I was showing you guys, if you had wrist on this candle here, if you took a trade, technically there's no candle closed below here, right? But this would have probably tricked some people out or shook them out. So at this point, look on the 1 minute, and you can see this would have probably shook some people out right here. You see how it's breaking below that megaphone pattern. So, you know, if you were having tight risk management, this would have probably shook you out. But it's still running. It hasn't closed below that 1431. Now it's right at around VWAP. So at this point, let's remove these lines. So me personally on this one, I'd like to see price get above previous close, you know, for right around that 1456. See if it gives you a smaller little candle. Then maybe I'd readdress looking at it. I'm still looking at DDD. Now CVIT is moving up. So this one right here is going previous close. So this is one to keep an eye on. So this is where I can look at this one, possible cup and handle, see if this holds. Problem is no volume. Same thing with OI, no volume. All right, I'm actually going to look at DDD again a little bit closer. So DDD, I'd like to see if this one again, is it going to form a little bit of a flag on a 5 minute? I'm watching for this to see if this will hold right here. I'd like to see a nice little hammer hold on this. You can see some resistance right between that 1107, 1108 to 1120s area. So I'm watching again that 5 minute, see if you get a hold. This is where you can kind of draw your channel down like this, right? So you can kind of draw your, connect the peaks, connect the valleys down here. A lot of people on a 1 minute chart, they might buy the bounce off of here, you know, off that 50 SMA on a 1 minute in anticipation of a break. You know, that's where, you know, buying low, buying at support levels. Many times they might buy a bounce like this in anticipation of a break, and then it fails back down. So that's why, me personally, I like to get a good 5 minute setup. And then once I get the 5 minute setup, then I'll look at, you know, a 1 minute for entry. You can see this 5 minute candle still playing out. INFY. I'm watching this one. Still possible cup and handle-ish, right? You can kind of connect the peaks like this. Kind of cup and handle, sideways cup and handle. I'm watching right around that green. Right here. So that green line is the 13 EMA, and then here's the 9. I'm watching to see if it can get above here and form a possible cup pattern. You know, maybe a possible small candle risk off of here on bullish news that may form a cup pattern, and then I'd watch VWAP and possibly these 1098 $11 area as resistance. So I'm watching this 5 minute formation right now on now also BBBY too. I'm keeping an eye on that one. That one's potentially moving up as well. So you can see BBBY. That one's possibly going red to green at the moment. You still have that resistance around that 1465. I'd like to see a small candle hold up in here. As you can see, this is still moving up. So there was no close below this green reversal candle. So now still watching on BBBY. And INFY and DDD. So I'm watching right here, possible hammer. Watching here, possible close above the 9 EMA in a 5 minute. Still has a minute or so for these candles to hold. BBBY right near resistance. Want to see if it'll pull back. See a pullback hold here. Maybe a small candle off that previous close level. So see if you get a couple candles back and hold right here. Looking for, I like, again, these are more of the candles I like to see. These smaller little hammers. All right, so here we go on DDD. Right there. So now you might have a head and shoulder. This is where you can get kind of tricked. You might see a 5-minute flag, or this might turn into a head and shoulders. This is where I start to look a lot closer. That 1096 to 1084, that's a 10-cent candle. Let me look at a 1-minute chart and see what's going on here. Moving average lines are pinching. So you can see prices starting to move out of that falling wedge, but you want to see it get above. Ideally, see if it can get above that $11 area here. So you like to see these moving average lines curl up on a 1-minute for a possible move up, and then look at 1108 and then 1123 resistance. Another one, again, from the watch list, SSW. This is what I was saying, guys. You always want volume. So you can see this one's ripping up, but you can see these candles, there's no volume in here. It's only got 74,000. That's why we say don't trade something just because it breaks out. You want to see volume. OI as well. That one's a little slowly building. I'd like to see a few 100,000 volume, but that one's starting to creep up as well. SRNE, let me take a look. Yep, so SRNE, this is where I like to start to take a look at it more, right? You guys see the moving average lines are separating. That's a 1-minute chart. High a day, you know, probably around this 438 level. Let's look at a 5-minute. Needs to clear that 200 SMA, that red line, that 430s level. So you can use that 13 EMA as some support. You want to see it clear that 20 EMA, that red line. And this is where I want to show you guys. This is why those 5-minute setups are very important to hold. Remember I was telling you guys I was looking for like that hammer, right? You guys see right here. That hammer held, right? But then remember I was saying watch out on a 1-minute. That it might turn into a head and shoulders. Remember I was saying it was creeping out right here, and what did it do? It failed, and now it's coming back down again, right? So that's why I like a good 5-minute setup. I might miss entries a lot of times by not just doing 1 minute, but you'll see right here, perfect example. Patterns failing. Now you can see it's basically a head and shoulders, right? Not saying now I got to watch and let this thing reset, but I can see a head, left shoulder, right back down. So head and shoulders. Same thing with BBBY. Remember I was telling you guys, see if there's a retest. Smacked right at resistance on a 5-minute, right back down. INFY. Let's look at the market right now. I would be, let's see, market's up near it's above that 50 SMA right now, so it may be reversed. So a lot of times when you see these 5-minute reversal candles start to form, again, it hasn't formed yet, but a lot of times when you see this reversal candle forming, that's when you'll see things like, see Bed Bath & Beyond kind of starting to fail, or right here, and that's where DDD, same thing. So you guys see with that same 5-minute candle, many times these stocks run with the market. So when the market's reversing or pulling back, a lot of these times the stocks will go with it. Doesn't mean they're going to be done. You can see like this one's forming. You know, this one doesn't look so hot at the moment, DDD, but Bed Bath & Beyond may be still holding. You can see it's kind of bouncing off previous close, right? So that's why letting these candlesticks form are very, very important. So this is where I start to look at Bed Bath & Beyond a little bit closer. I'd like to see this 9 EMA catch up. So this is where I like to see, okay, is this going to form a kind of a cup and handle, give a smaller candle? I don't like these big candle wicks right here. I like small candles, right? So I'd like to see, you know, if they'll give me a small little candle back down to the previous close, let this 9 EMA catch up, and then form a possible cup and handle. You can kind of see you guys see how this resistance level, when I connect these peaks down here, it's coming right into where price is getting smacked right now. You guys see that? So I have this lower trend line here, that upper trend line sloping down, and then this one over here. So you can see it's hitting right here. No accident, right, guys? Support resistance patterns, very, very important. So if this, you can see the moving average line starting to cross here. That's a potential good sign. So I'm going to keep watching this one closer. OI is starting to break out. I'd like to see it get more volume though. DDD definitely failed that head and shoulders neckline. It's failing the 20 EMA on a 5-minute now. So to show you guys the ones kind of I'm looking at here. So again, BBB, why Bed Bath & Beyond. I'm still intrigued by this one right now. See if it can get this moving average lines crossover and give a possible cup and handle break. DDD, as you can see on a 5-minute, failed that right shoulder. Now it's failing the 20 EMA. OI is doing well. Problem is no volume. CVIT kind of broke out. Also no volume. And right here, right, remember I was telling you guys INFY, possibly cupping, but now look, that's failing as well. No coincidence that these are all basically failing right now, because what is the market doing? Market is, when you zoom in, it's currently failing. Doesn't mean it's going to tank or fall in the day, but you can see those two 5-minute candles are pulling back, and no surprise that, look at these 2-minute candle, 2 5-minute candles on Bed Bath & Beyond. Look at these ones on DD. Look at these ones on INFY, SSY. So you guys see how they're all pretty much reversing, with the exception of OI and potentially CVET. But OI and CVET, as you guys can see at the moment, don't have much volume, right? You guys see how this all runs together? Is this making sense to you guys? I know it's not a lot of action right now. I'm not showing you the 1 minutes and the low floaters. But if you don't understand this stuff, if you're new and you don't understand what I'm showing you here and how the market moves and how these 5-minute setups are important, if you don't understand this stuff, then like just looking at low float stocks in a 1 minute, like you're going to get burned. You'll blow up your account that way, right? You have to learn how all this stuff works. Again, I'm showing you on a 5-minute. You can do a SPY on a 1 minute, right? And then you can kind of have your low floaters kind of set up and then watching it that way. You know, sometimes, a lot of times these low floaters will have a mind of their own and they'll still go when the market goes down. But you can see the volatility on a 1 minute on a SPY chart. It's extremely volatile, right? So that's why I just like to personally slow it down and use a 5-minute. All right, so looking at Bed Bath & Beyond, remember guys, I was saying, watch and see if you get a 5-minute hold above previous close. Definitely not at the moment. That looks terrible. DDD, Head and Shoulders, failing, looks terrible. INFY, not doing much of anything. And then OI might be interesting. I'd like to see more volume. SSW breaking out. Now let's see if it can get some volume. If SSW and OI can hold these areas, that 1420 and 1375, those could be interesting for possible breakouts. And OI was one I was really intrigued by if it can get some volume, because I was looking at right here. So now this is one I'd like to look at further. See that? It's kind of cup and handling. It's holding on that 1373. And now right here, so you guys see this? It's getting above that 13. If this thing can hold, this has got some room to go up to right up to that 1473. I'd like to see some volume, but this is where if it can hold right up here and not dump and get that 9 EMA to catch up, this one could be very intriguing. And SSW, let me see for that one. That one maybe potentially right here, possibly bull flagging on that 1420 area. Let's see where that leaves us. Yep, so this is another one I was looking at, guys, too, from the watch list because of these patterns. So you can see kind of a Head and Shoulders, but I was looking right here. There was like that falling wedge. If that can hold that 1420s, both of these are pretty decent looking because they might be having daily breakouts. Although, again, like to see volume come in. So these are two really decent ones that have potentially daily breakouts right now with SSW. You can see it was breaking out of that kind of that falling wedge. If you're going to hold that 1420, you know, it might have a move up to that 1450 area. Want to see it get volume and hold that 1420 area and possibly bull flag. OI is slowly creeping right up over here. I really like that. I just want to see that a retest of 1375. I'd like to see a retest hold, but you got a kind of like a diagonal flag. Not a flag, but like a right here. It's kind of got a rising wedge. So this is me personally, guys. You can see it's kind of up at like these resistance levels. I'd like to see it pull back, right? I'd like to see at this point kind of a hold back down here in this level, right? This 1375-ish level right in here. If this can pull back and hold and ideally get this 9 EMA, I don't even need, you know, you can use a slower trend line. I almost kind of use that 9 EMA, that blue line kind of as a guide. You can see price is a little bit far away. I would like to ideally see this 9 catch up here. Let this give a couple pullback candles. If this can catch up and this can hold 1375, then you might have a possible bull flag breakout, and then that thing could potentially run. I just don't like it right now with just this slow build. I think I'd just like to see it pull back. Kind of like with SSW right now. So both SSW and OI right here. You guys see these both? I want to see now with 1420, you can kind of see kind of like that, right? I want to see if, again, a little bit further away, you could both the 9 EMA are a little bit, on both of these, are a little bit further away. But if this 9 EMA can catch up closer and they can hold that 1420 and OI can hold that 1375, you can see the 9 EMAs creeping up. Let these pull back a little bit. If they confirm and retest and hold support levels, those two I'd be very intrigued by. DDD, you can see, guys, that Head and Shoulders failed right here. It's below the moving average lines. BBBY is a mess, and INFY could go either way. Here we go. Possible bounce on SSW. Small little candle. Again, I like that, but at the same time I don't, because I want to see, again, some volume, and I want that 9 EMA to catch up more. It's still a little bit too far away from the 9 EMA for me. You can see, too, it's also probably dealing with this candle wick right over here. See the top of that wick right there around 1422? That's messing with it right here. You guys see that one right in here? That wick and right in here contends all the way right over in here. So you see that? Tesla, let me take a look at Tesla, Roku. Yeah, so if you guys want some that to take a look at, let me know right now, because I'm actually really starting to watch these now. They're either going to completely break down, or I'm paying close attention to OI and SSW. I'm a little more intrigued by OI because it's getting a little bit more volume. But yeah, we can look at some other ones right now as those patterns are playing out. All right, so my goodness, this one's just flying. So 504.95 and is high a day. Left shoulder area, potentially right here, around that 503.51. Should be all-time highs. All-time highs. You can see some support down here on that 498 level. So me personally, I'd like to see a pullback. See how far price is away from that 9 EMA. I'd like to see, me personally, this kind of stuff. I'd like to see smaller candles, not necessarily a red candle like this, but this is what you'd like to see, is kind of a like that, right? Price goes up, pulls back, breaks out. Again, these are, for me personally, these are two big volatile candles. I don't like big volatile candles like that. I like smaller ones, like smaller kind of dojis or smaller hammers. So at this point, watch and see if price can pull back. Kind of like what price is doing right now with, this is what I want to see. Remember I was telling you guys at resistance, it's hitting resistance. Now I want to see it pull back. It may not pull back. This thing might just go and it might dump right back down, and then it breaks and negates the pattern that I want. But I want to see kind of a flag. Same thing with SSW. Right here. Possibly flagging, but again, still overextended. I want to see that 9 EMA catch up. Give me a smaller little candle. CVIT may be a little intriguing as well. So you can see possible holds right here. Piercing candle. Let's look at the daily. This was another one I was really looking at, guys, from the watch list right here. Kind of a falling wedge. Maybe looking to break out of that falling wedge pattern. But again, I'd like to see volume. OI, volume slowly building. So show you guys again, right here, OI pulling back, 90 EMA slowly catching up. I like that. SSW kind of slowing pull back. I like this. I'd like to see it again. Hold, confirmation hold. And now right now with CVET right here, I'd like to see this one hold, kind of this 9 EMA. These are the three I'm looking at right now to see if this 9 EMA will hold, give you a bounce off of one of those three. Bed Bath & Beyond, not liking that one as much. It's falling right back down here. This could form a double bottom and go up. This Head and Shoulders on DDD I don't like. Keep an eye on INFY. This one may be slowly creeping right up in here. You guys see what I've been telling you guys about bull flags? You see how you got to be patient. So if you're doing my setup on a 5-minute, you know, you're almost an hour into the market, about 50 minutes. And this has taken a while. But that's okay. Like, be patient. And this is where, I don't know if I triggered somebody on YouTube. I made a video on how to short bear flags. I put up on what did I do? I just did a video on how to short bear flags on YouTube the other day. I did it one this weekend. And if the person was listening, I don't know if they were a troll or if they just got triggered for whatever reason, but I was like saying, not recommending to day trade at work. I was telling them be very careful, and that's why having 5-minute setups allows you, like if you're at a place like where you know, day trading at work where you got to be at your screen, you got to look at a 1-minute chart. That's very, very difficult to do. I told the person, I was telling you guys in the video, that's very difficult to do, but if you're at work or whatever, you can use a 5-minute to slow things down, and then this idiot decides to, like, you know, say, I can't believe you said to day trade at work. And then I'm like, this guy's an idiot, but I couldn't tell him he was an idiot because I didn't say on the stream, for those that are listening, to day trade at work. Some people are idiots nowadays. But anyways, my whole point being is you can slow day trading down by doing stuff like this, right? So having 5-minute setups, you can see it's taking some time. You know, something that I was looking at, I was more intrigued by DDD and Bed Bath & Beyond earlier. But now these ones are starting to potentially take form. I still would like to see on OI it pull back a little bit. It's dealing with that kind of shooting star candle. SNX. So this one's getting closer right down in here. You can see it's kind of sloping down. This is the stuff you start to like to look at, right? And you can see right in here these previous candles. So this is what you like to see, kind of a flag, kind of falling wedge. Use that 9 EMA as a guide. See if you can get a smaller candle risk off of here. If so, watch if it can break out of that 149 level. And the only problem with it is there's no previous resistance levels. So it's at all-time highs. So if it breaks out, that's where, you know, you'd have to, if you got an entry on this and you took a trade, you can see some resistance right at the top of that wick too. So right in here. If this thing breaks out, you really have to watch for reversal candles. I'd probably say about $150 just because that's a whole dollar amount. That's where I like to be careful on ones that don't have any previous resistance levels. It could fly, but it could also easily false breakout and dump. Yeah, Dan was saying TOS has been kind of crappy lately with filling orders. But lately, today they're doing good. All right, so let me look at SSW just to show you guys. This is the stuff I start to. This is where I tend to start to look at things a little bit more closely. It's pulling back. Again, like to see it ideally come off this 9 EMA to get a little bit more volume. Again, no volume coming in yet. Like to see it hold, but this is the stuff I start to look at, right? So if it can hold that 9 EMA and it can get some volume coming in, but that's the problem, is it's just not getting volume. OI, still slowly creeping volume, not great. And this is where you can see it kind of bounced back up again. So it had that shooting star. Many times that will fake people out and it'll continue up. And this is where I like to see, again, myself, let this thing pull back down and get some volume. DDD could be interesting right here. So you can see this one may be doing a cup pattern. So you can see moving average lines are pinching, kind of trading sideways. So this one may want to move back up towards VWAP. Let's take a look at right in here. I'd look at VWAP, and then there you go. So then that 50 SMA and VWAP. Moving average lines are crossing on a 1 minute. Watch for resistance right around VWAP, 50 SMA. All right, so let this 5-minute candle form right here. See if it closes above VWAP. Then I would look at that $11, and then 11.20. Up here 11.08, 11.23. This one may be doing a cup pattern. See if these moving average lines will separate, get a close above VWAP on a 5-minute. SSW is definitely looking intriguing. I just wish this thing would get some volume. So this is what I start to look at, right? You get that kind of hammer bounce. If you get a green hammer bounce, that could be very intriguing. Problem is, I'd like to see volume. But this is just to show you guys, this is what I really start to look at on stocks that have liquidity. You get a possible, if this is a 5-minute green hammer, if that 9 EMA was right off of here and that had volume, then I would say, boom, on a stock like this, this may be looking to do a flag. If that 9 EMA kind of held, if this can break out, that's the stuff I really start to get. That's what I really like to see, is stuff like this. But I'd like to see the volume coming in. So DDD's 5-minute candle closed right below VWAP. This one, I'd keep an eye on this one now. Moving average lines might be starting to separate. Many times these 5-minute candles will give back half a candle, and then sometimes it forms a possible flag. This one may be interesting to take a look at, see if these moving average lines will kind of separate and hold. Right here, you guys can see possible pennant pattern forming here on a 1 minute. Facebook made a move. Right here, guys. Watch that. Right here. And see, that's where, again, you see how it's kind of dumping right down in here. So this is where, guys, if you're doing like trading like a 1 minute chart, if somebody was kind of looking to scalp off of one of these candles, you know, if you got in at the break of, let's say, that 1077 or this 1080 candle, you start looking right up here, these tweezer tops, then you're potentially getting out. So it is bouncing off the 9 EMA on a 5 minute. So you can see this is where having a 5 minute and a 1 minute setup is good to look at. So you'll see that 1 minute may have shook you out, and look at that. It's bouncing technically still right here on a 5 minute. This one's intriguing. See that? Kind of bounced and came right back up. This one may be doing a cup and handle on a 1 minute. Gonna watch and see if it can break out. Those green dots are VWAP. So you can see in a 1 minute, it's now breaking out. It's retesting angular resistance. This one may be one to keep an eye on right now to see if it holds and possibly flags on a 1 minute for a breakout. Watch these candles form. If they fail, that's not a good thing. That's why I'm looking at a 5 minute chart as well. It's bouncing between 9 EMA on a 5 minute and VWAP. And SSW is so intriguing with those bounces off the 9 EMA too, but I'm waiting to watching that 5 minute setup right now and see if it gives you a green hammer. So far it's red, but we'll have to see if that holds. And you can see right here, guys, on this DDD. So you can see on a 5 minute, this is where I like to look at the 5 and the 1. That 5 minute candle hasn't formed yet. Moving average line sideways. So now that's where, you know, sometimes you'll see something, it might be good on a 1 minute and the 5 minute sucks. But we got to watch and see. Let that 5 minute candle formation hold or form. SSW, this is what I was intrigued by, is the bouncing right here off that 9 EMA. You can still see, you guys see how it's further away here. Now it's creeping down. I like to see that bounce. Now we got to see how it holds. But OI, that was the other one we were looking at. Remember I was saying come back to the 9 EMA. What did it do? It's dumping down, right? So now at this point, you'd like to see a flag and see if it holds, but not looking so hot. And I'm sure, let's take a look at SPY. SPY is just trading kind of in this range right now, sideways, and it's not looking so hot. So this, remember this, all this choppiness, guys, affects these stocks. Bed Bath & Beyond may be interest. I might be intrigued by that one. If a 5-minute candle can close, you can see maybe a double bottom formation forming. See if it can kind of, again, when you zoom in on this, it might be trying to get above VWAP and that 50 SMA. I'll have to watch and see if that can hold. And ideally, you'd like to see it break out, get above previous close, and then you can see, you know, high day resistance around 1470. Yeah, Roku, I'm not sure if you're in our trade room, but we talk about a lot of different things on the trade room each day. Someone was talking about Beyond and in the trade room. So this is again stuff, guys. This is where my strategy, patience, takes a lot of patience. Stuff like this, right? I like to see the 9 EMA bounce. I like to see the 9 EMA bounce. This one's starting to fail. So this is where I'd like to see with CVIT. You can see now I have a pattern formation, possibly maybe doing a flat top. See if it can hold that 9 EMA. If volume can come in and break out, that's the only problem, is you want to see volume come in, right? Same thing with SSW, let the thing break out, pull back down to the moving average lines, but I got to get a good, solid kind of setup, and right now it's not. You guys see this? It's this stuff right here, right? I'd like to see a candle hold. I'd like to see volume come in on the breakout, but I could see, again, if I get a good hold, I don't like these ones, but if I can get a solid, small, little green candle hold on here, then I can have small risk, right? If I can get a candle hold on here for a possible breakout, I could have small risk. I could use, if I was to enter in something like this, I could use that 9 EMA on a 5-minute as my stop. So if I had a good hold on these, I'm not going to let it fall all the way down here. I have tight risk management. So I might use as like a small candle right here, 1364. That might be a 4 or 5 cent candle. Something like this might be a 2 or 3 cent candle. So as it breaks out, you know, then I would look at 5-minute candles. If the volume comes in, you know, then I would look at possible reversal candles at resistance. But I wouldn't, you know, my risk management, if I were to take something like on one of these, I would use that 9 EMA on a 5-minute, maybe a close below that as my stop. Or I might not even allow it to go that way. If you get a false breakout and then it trades sideways and then it looks weak, I might not allow it to close below the 9 EMA and a 5. I might just get out, right? I like to keep my risk management small, or my risk small. This one's still so intriguing to me, guys, if this thing can get some volume, right? You guys see all these patterns, inverse head and shoulders, falling wedge, right at resistance. If this stupid thing can break out, you can see it's having that kind of that ascending triangle-ish kind of building right here. I'd like to see some volume come in on it. SSW gave me that green candle, but you guys see, this is what I'm looking for, right? But it's still, this candle has not gotten above this one yet, that 1490 area. So we'll see if this one bounces right in here. Kind of just draw your right? You guys see that kind of that falling wedge? If this bounces off that 13 and can hold that 9, this may be setting up. But that's why it's important to let these 5-minute candles hold. Yeah, I do that, Reed. I keep it the same. Matt, you should be able to... Oh, my background? The wallpaper one? Are you talking about the candlesticks one, Matt? Like this one right here? Yeah, those are in our trade or under our candlesticks courses. So if you click on... just when you're logged in, click on either of our candlesticks courses. You'll see them back there. No problem. Yeah, it's right over in... right up here. You can get our candlesticks wallpapers right down here. Either of these two courses. If you click when you're logged in on either of these two here, you'll see the wallpapers. All right. OI maybe starting to get interesting right here. So you guys see us kind of pulling back down, getting a bounce off VWAP. Now I could connect the right in here. Now is where I start to look at this. Okay, now I see some support. 5-minute, maybe getting above that 9 EMA. Like to see if it gets above those dots, those 5 SMA. This is where I start to look at this one a lot closer. And SSW as well, a lot closer. Now we might be looking at these. You guys see these now? It's taken a long time, but now it's bouncing off support, potentially holding 1375, bouncing off support. Might be looking to move out of this flag. See if you can get some volume. Now you guys see this? Bounce off that 9 EMA and 05. Bouncing off on here. So now is where I start to look at these a little bit further. AMD, possible. Could be a flag. Oh, that's a daily. Now that could also be a head and shoulders on the daily. Let's look at the 5-minute. Uh, 5 minutes very weak at the moment. Right now it's failing VWAP. I don't like it at the moment. OI, I'm watching pretty closer right now. Right at that. It's 5 SMA dots. Right in here, I'm going to see if it can hold in here that 5-minute 9 EMA. Now watch when now you have a 5-minute candle formation forming on a 5-minute. Watch now, a lot of times on a 1-minute, it'll pull back into the candle before it takes off. Just like that. We'll have to watch now on a 1-minute. You guys can see it's starting to move up in here. This is the stuff I like to see here. Get some volume. You guys see how the moving average lines are kind of pinching, starting to cross? You like to see that, and there it goes. Like to see it get more volume, not getting as much volume. Now watch that 1381 resistance right here. Now, if this thing had more volume to it, if it had at least a 500,000 volume, I would have probably taken a trade on it. But you guys see how it's just still not... I don't like how it's not getting volume. Same thing with SSW. If this had the volume, you know, if OI had the volume of like DDD or Bed Bath & Beyond, or then I would have considered taking it, but... I want to see more volume. And SSW, so these are two setups that I like, both of the setups. But it's just the volume, right? So you guys see, this is exactly what you like to see. The problem is it's just not getting the volume I want. And you can see CVIT starting to break out too. You guys see all three of these? They bounced off the 9. Now they're creeping up. Bounce off the 9, kind of flag. Creeping up, bounce off the 9, kind of moving up. OI is looking a little better. Let's look at CVIT for volume. Still slowly creeping. So ideally, you like to see volume to get the liquidity. But is this making sense to you guys on the 5-minute? If you got the volume, do you see how this stuff, it takes patience, but how you can slow trading down? You know, this is one right here with OI. You know, if you got in at the break of this right here at 1376, it's not a great move, you know. That's 8 cents. If you got a little worried and you can get out of it, you bought 1,000 shares, that could be 8 cents, you know. And you can see the ones I'm looking at today, they're just really not so hot. But it's this stuff that I like to see. But you know, today's a funky day with trading my kind of strategy. DDD, this might be, or actually INFY, that one might be one to take a look at right now because that one's got volume on the day. And I think it's got news as well. So it looks like it has some news, possible volume, moving average lines maybe starting to separate. Let's take a look at a 5-minute setup. See right here, now it's got some resistance right around that, right below VWAP. This one would start to intrigue me a little bit too. See these moving average lines starting to separate? But I'm going to let those 5-minute candles form. And this is where like volume comes in. Like volume is very important. You can see on CVET. That's where if you get in right here, the 5-minute, it breaks out. That 5-minute candle hasn't formed. You can see the volume's not kind of creeping in. That's where it gets kind of difficult. SSW, again, kind of moving up. But again, you guys see, not getting the volume. So the pattern looks good. Just not getting the volume. OI, kind of another one. It's moving up, right? 5-minute candle hasn't formed yet. May get some volume. It's a little bit more, but it's still, you guys see it? Kind of moving up. Hasn't formed that 5-minute candle formation yet. That's why volume is very, very important. ARWR. Well, it's failing the moving average lines at the moment. There's VWAP right down here at those green dots. Let's look at. It's in a down channel. It's definitely bearish at the moment. You got to see if buyers will come in down in this $56 range. You got some resistance at the moving average lines. Let's take a look on a 5-minute. It's kind of trapped in between these moving average lines. You know, again, guys, let's go look at SPY. Kind of a crappy day, but, you know, no coincidence, guys. This is where... Look at this. This is a roller coaster trading sideways today, right? So if you're wondering like why a lot of these are not breaking out, not getting the volume we like, not getting the patterns we like, well, look at the market, right? Let it choose a direction. It may be starting to look to potentially break out. You can see how it's starting to move up. Moving average lines are crossing. SPY might go bullish. No coincidence that the ones I was looking at may be starting to go bullish, right? Right? So you can see these ones are starting to move up. They're starting to go kind of bullish on a 5-minute. Well, the SPY is starting to go bullish. Problem with these, right? So you can see they're breaking out. Volume. Not getting the volume. Doesn't mean you can't trade. If you're trading 1,000 share blocks, you might be able to get in and out of these, but it just, you know, there's just a little bit more risk that way. But, I mean... I didn't trade any of these, but this is the stuff I look for when you get volume. This right here on SSW would be basically my favorite. This would have been my favorite pattern, right? A nice bull flag. If this had volume on it, million plus volume, I would have taken this trade all day long right here. And I would have used a small little candle risk right off here. So you see that? That's a 14.20 to 14. That's a 3-cent candle. I'd risk 3 cents to see if it can go and break high a day on a 5-minute. All right? If it had volume. Just hasn't gotten the volume. Now, Bed Bath & Beyond might be intriguing. So this one I definitely might take a look at right here now is Bed Bath & Beyond. Right here. So this one has volume. Might be creeping. Possible double bottom formation. If this can close above this area right in here, I would consider a trade on this one right here if I get a good 5-minute hold. Right? You can see moving average lines crossing. If this can hold, get above that 14.58 and hold previous close, I would consider a trade on that one. Because I also see the market is potentially going bullish. Thank you, Roku. I like how you call this an episode. I like it. It sounds official, like I'm on a TV program or something. Here we go. So I'm watching this 5-minute closely on Bed Bath & Beyond. DDD is also broaching VWAP as well on a 5-minute. You guys see how the market is turning bullish and then how these stocks run with the market. So if the market can hold bullish and you get these 5-minute candle confirmations, these might be potential trades to take. Watch here on a retest on a 5-minute. Now I'm zooming in on a 1-minute. Now I'm intrigued. This is giving a bounce right off on here. This is where I would consider potentially taking a trade. Watching and see if this can flag on a 1-minute. Very, very important here. Let me take a look at SPY. What is SPY doing right now? SPY is bullish. Getting the bounce right here. this is where I'm intrigued. I could have tight risk management. If this bounces and breaks, I could use that 1457 as a stop. Or right in here, that like a really tight stop if I was to look at this one right here. It's given back half the candle on a 5 minute. Right here, still watching it. Watch if it candle like flags here or if it tweezer tops and then fails. But you can see how I got a nice little support level at that 9 EMA on a 1 minute. This is where I start to get intrigued. But remember that 5 minute also hasn't formed. A 5 minute candle after the break, it hasn't formed yet. This is where I'm starting to look. Just making sense to you guys? Do you see now when I'm starting to take a look at something more? Stock has volume as a 5 minute close that's potentially bullish. Now the second candle on a 5 minute is retesting. Let's see if it goes up. Right now it got a bounce. Now you want to see right here it's creeping up around that 1459. Now it's got to break that previous 5 minute candle right up here. If you look at this 5 minute candle right here, you guys see it held, it retested. Moving average lines are bullish. Now it's breaking. Now that's what I start to look at right here. So now I'm watching 5 minute candle formations right here. See if it can break above that 64, 68. And now I can watch here. If I don't get the confirmation I'm looking for, you can see SPY is bullish as well. So SPY is breaking out high of day. That's moving up. Bed Bath & Beyond is moving up with it. So now this is where you can decide if you had an entry on this, are you getting out on a 1 minute or a 5 minute, right? That's really all your personal preference. So now really I'm watching a 5 minute on Bed Bath & Beyond and I'm watching a 5 minute on SPY and I'm going to watch what it's going to do. And so me personally, I'd probably use right here, and you could use a potential, I probably would just keep this kind of tight, just kind of with the day that's been going on. I would probably just use right here, that 1459 area as my stop. Keep my stops really tight. See that's creeping up. Watch that 5 minute candle. 5 minute on SPY is pulling back a little bit at the moment. So you can see as well, many times this will go and break out, comes back, and it retests this area right here, right in this candle. No coincidence, that's previous close, those orange dots there as well. So probably right in this area, I would keep things very tight, right in this area. But see how I can use previous close as a support level if I was looking at this? So I'd let this 5 minute candle form. If it doesn't form the way I'd like, then I would either maybe stop out or get out. But you can see it's very tight risk management, which is what I like. So sometimes you'll get a false breakout, but you see how like 1456 to 1450, that's 3 cents of risk management. I like to keep things very, very tight risk management. We'll let this play out for a few minutes just because we haven't had much action throughout the day. So let's just let this play out a little bit. I was going to probably stop this stream, but now that let's just watch and see what this thing does. And just to show you guys, right, when I go back over to OI might be getting interesting too. It's getting some volume. A little bit more volume. It's pulling back right in here. So you can see it kind of went up. It's pulling back to that 9 EMA again, getting a little bit more volume. So now you can see, watch and see if that 9 EMA holds and flags. That might be intriguing if the 9 EMA can push it up. All right, guys, so you can see 5 minute, it's held. It's a little bit shaky on that spinning top candle. But, you know, again, this is where now I would use this kind of that 1459 area maybe as my stop. And then I would consider You know, either getting out on a 5 minute or scalping on a 1 minute, looking at these resistance levels above 1460 right in here. So yeah, it's kind of moving up and then it's retesting this candle again on a 5 minute. Very common. And you can see where's SPY. And this is what I do, guys, right? So I have a 5 minute chart set up on SPY. SPY kind of broke out. Now it's retesting. Bed Bath & Beyond broke out. Now it's retesting. So now I kind of have that 5 minute gauge up here. If SPY starts to dump, then I wouldn't be surprised if Bed Bath & Beyond starts to dump. So now I kind of have it. If I was in this trade, I'm watching it right now. SPY, if it bounces and continues up, there's a chance Bed Bath & Beyond may continue up. Now watching right here, see if you can get a green candle or hammer candle right off of that 9 EMA on a 5 minute. So as remember I was telling you guys you could use that 9 EMA as a guide. Right here, watch it right here. If you had gotten in back over here, you could use a candle close below here as your stop. Again, I didn't like it because it didn't have the volume, but now I'd look for right here, see if it can hold that 9 EMA, and then give you a possible flag. I'd like to see, is this going to flag right off in here and get some volume. And Bed Bath & Beyond still moving up. It's hitting resistance off of right here. It was 1464. Now look at 1468 high a day resistance. So now, guys, you got to remember, if you were in this trade, now you're going to say, okay, am I going to wait for a 5 minute candle close to get out? Or if you were in on a 1 minute, you know, you could be scalping up between 8 to 10 cents on that right now. You know, so this is a decent 1 minute, you know, chart setup. You could scalp good 10 cents on a stock like this. Somebody just added me. What did they ask me? Yeah, I'm not looking at Facebook right now. Sorry about that, bud. All right, so here's where I'm looking at right here on OI. Does that have volume? A little bit more, which is decent. So now that's where I'm looking right here, guys. See if it gives a hold on here. If so, that might be interesting right here for a possible breakout. Right there on Bed Bath & Beyond, guys. It took a while today. You see, it took a while. It took an hour and a half. That would have been the trade I would have taken right here. It was Bed Bath & Beyond. And now, look at that. Now you want to see it hold high a day. If you got back in at 14, where were we looking? Right back, right over in, right down right there. There you go, guys. Watch for resistance right at 1475. You could have a 10 to 15 cent trade right there off a 1 minute scalp. And then don't be surprised if it hits resistance and bounces right back down to 1458. There you go. That's a good 13 cent move right up there. You're welcome, Reggie. Darn. OI is very intriguing to me right now. Slowly building some volume right in here. Oh, it's hard to ignore that one right in here. But it's possible head and shoulders too. This is where you can get really kind of caught. Where I'm intrigued by this one as a tight bid-ask spread, which I like. Possible 5 minute flag formation right in here, which I like. But then there's this little kind of this area right in here of that possible left shoulder formation. I'd like to see you can right there creep above. Oh, see that? How it poked right up. You guys see that? Right at that right shoulder area here. Hitting resistance right in there. If this can clear that 1381, that could be interesting. And Bed Bath & Beyond is retesting high a day on a 5-minute. See if it can hold that 1468 level. And there you go, right here. Watch for a retest here. It's getting a little bit of volume. Son of a gun, right up to 1384. Now it's getting the volume. There it goes. There it goes. And here comes some of the volume. Let's see if it holds. Son of a gun, huh? And DDD might be creeping up. Now you want to see it retest this 1384. Slowly getting volume. Again, I'd like to see more than 500,000 in volume, but you can see it broke out. And right here, 1381 to 1391, that's 10-cent move. And you have some resistance right up around that 1395 level. You guys see now why these 5-minute charts are so important? Patience. You see how those 5-minute charts set up give you a better chance of breaking out. And obviously you need to get some volume with it. Some of them break out like SSW without volume. But you want to get the volume so you can get in and out of the trade. Because sometimes you'll get these breakouts and then you might get stuck and not be able to get out of the trade in here. Bed Bath & Beyond was my favorite because of the volume and as big of a stock as it is. I really liked because of the breakout on the daily formation. The problem is I want to see volume. So the 5-minute hasn't formed completely yet with OI, but just be aware there's resistance between $13.95 to $14, right up in this range up here. So me personally, I'd wait for a 5-minute pullback and see if volume comes in. I wouldn't chase up top here. If you're new, you don't buy way out here. And DDD might be creeping at VWAP right here. So you guys see DDD maybe setting up for a possible break of VWAP. Right there. Possible flat top forming right in here. So with DDD, if you look at the 5-minute setup, kind of right here, kind of broke above VWAP. Now it's retesting on a 5-minute. See if this thing can hold VWAP. If so, then look at $11 and then 11.08. This one may be intriguing right here. Now it's pulling back again right here. See if it'll hold or if it's going to fall back down to the 9 EMA. This one's definitely a little bit intriguing right here on a 1-minute. And you can use that right below that 1083. It's 4 cents down to the 9 EMA on a 5 minute, so that's pretty decent risk management. The only problem is this could be turning into a double top or a head and shoulders right now. So many times on a 1 minute, this thing might fall back down to this area before it bounces, so it gives back part of that 5 minute candle before it launches, or it dumps. Do you mean breakout, advanced trader, on for OI? The reason why I had OI on the watch list was I had a great daily breakout setup on the charts right in here. It was this kind of this flag with inside of it a big cup and handle. If this thing can hold and get volume, look at that gap right around 1474. If the 5 minute can hold on OI, I'd look to see if it can go up to that 1470 area. It's doing a possible reversal right now. And Bed Bath & Beyond might be holding. So you guys see how it's breaking now. It's retesting high a day, Bed Bath & Beyond. That one may be holding that. Right here. So I want to see if that cup and handle will hold and go and break out. You can see it's got this resistance from the previous channel right around that 14. Where is that? 80s low, 1475. And look at DDD. DDD may be holding VWAP here. This is where I would start to get intrigued. This is a possible, what do you want to call that? Flag, kind of cup and handle, ascending triangle. If it can hold VWAP, this is one I'd be a little bit intrigued by. Right in here. You guys see this? It got a bounce. Maybe setting up. There it goes. Right over here. Want to see it hold that 1090. Got that bounce little reversal. Right off VWAP. Now at this point, that 1090 level, you'd like to see a retest before getting in. But if it doesn't, this may just go right up to 11. That's where, again, you'll see many times it gives back part of the candle, bounces off these lower moving average lines, comes back up, and then you get kind of a flat top break. Now you got to watch resistance around 11. Buy low, sell high, right? So if you didn't get in an entry on this, then you'd want to see if it can kind of pull back and hold that 1090 level. If not, you might have to watch and see for a 5 minute pullback. See if it'll hold. So at this point, watch and see if it can pull back down in here. And Bed Bath & Beyond is up at angular resistance right around that 1475 level. So there you go, guys. That was a 20-cent move on Bed Bath & Beyond. If you were still up in that 15, 20 cents, you could have made off of that red to green 5 minute breakout. YouTube, I'm going to end this right now. Trade Room, I might stay on for a couple minutes, see how this plays out. But guys, if you're not a member of our community yet on YouTube, you can come join us right over here. We're the Bullish Bears. We do live streaming each day over in here. We do trade alerts. We do watch lists. We have free courses, lots of good stuff. You can subscribe right over in here. Our pricing's a joke. We're super inexpensive, so come and join us. I'll talk to you all later. Enjoy. Keep an eye on that bull flag potentially on DDD. Enjoy.